see it on TV or perhaps read about it in the newspaper. So, how should parents deal with it?
The most important thing is to give your kids ample time to tell how they feel and listen to them and let them know that having their feelings of being afraid or fearful is okay.
And the next time a thunderstorm rolls in, reassure your child that you are taking every precaution possible to keep them safe. This is springtime. It's going to happen, right?
Absolutely.
Hopefully not to this level.
Even the hail can be frightening.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, even if they didn't see the tornado yesterday, we saw the reports of the large hail.
Sure, and you saw the ominous clouds roll in. It's pretty scary.
It can be. And we have some pictures, by the way, of that hail because we had a lot of reports from golf ball to pea size to baseball to softball size hail. Well, we want to show you some of those that appear to us to be almost the size of baseballs. They're somewhere, and you know, the hailstones are not always the same size. But these were really cracking, and these gentlemen were watching from their garage thinking, should we go out and get the car, or should we just let the car get dinged? And of course, your insurance does cover that kind of damage. The Fujita tornado scale, we were talking about this earlier, and in case you missed the top of our broadcast, it was an F5 in Charles County, just east of La Plata, winds over 261 miles per hour. That only happens about once a year in this country. That's incredible damage. I cannot believe that this happened right in our backyard. Unbelievable. We also want to let you know that there was a tornado earlier in Shenandoah County, and this is what's called a supercell. That was seen in Fauquier County. Incredible picture. When a storm like this is approaching, it almost feels like there's an alien craft over you, like a spaceship, and the whole thing is usually rotating. And we see these, of course, a lot in the Midwest. We have a photo of the Shenandoah tornado as well, and this was seen out about mile marker 268, and that was an F2. There was very little talk about that one because there wasn't much in the way of damage, but the Charles County tornado, an F5, will go down in history as the strongest ever in Maryland, and we'd like to think it's the last, but you never know. We were just seven months ago talking about another supercell, and by the way, a supercell is a storm that can last several hours. It can go for 200 miles, and it's powered by a central column of air that is rotating. So the tornado may touch down and go back up, but that rotating column is still in there, and it can pop back down again, and that's exactly what does happen. We have no supercells in the area tonight. We have none in the forecast. And in fact, that was fairly well predicted that we were going to have a lot of potentially dangerous weather on Sunday. Now, tonight, we still have some clouds hanging around from the area of low pressure that was fueling the very strong cold front that came through, and in part, it was that clash between the warm and cold air that fueled up these thunderstorms, as well as winds blowing in different directions in different levels of the atmosphere that kept that storm spinning.
It survived.
She was just wanting us to find her husband and save him, and we would holler, and he would answer us back, but we could just never get to him.
Damages are believed to be in the millions. Utility crews still working to restore power. State officials are promising assistance.
And I've seen homes destroyed, people where they've lived for years, 10 years, 12 years, 13 years, everything wiped out. We're staying ready at the state to do whatever we can to help the families in a short-term and a long-term basis.
And we're back live here. You're looking at a real estate office. A couple of hours ago, we spoke to the owner, and she said pretty much everything here has been lost. She was trying to move out some files and documents and things of that nature earlier today, but again, her business has been destroyed. We are told tonight, according to Representative Steny Hoyer here in Maryland, that damages in this area could exceed $100 million. That's the latest from La Plata. Let's go back to Broadcast House.
Greg started. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg. Well, tonight, something more powerful than that tornado is sweeping across the area.
It's the small-town America spirit, neighbor helping neighbor, reaching out to those in need. 9 News reporter Sidney Pena continues our live team coverage from the command center.
Path for those who had lost practically everything after the devastating storm swept through.
Kathleen, for many residents, the recovery, of course, will take months, and some of them are just glad they survived the storm, as Kevin Schultz just showed us. With more on that, here's ABC 7 News reporter Susan Roberts. And Susan, you must be hearing and seeing some dramatic stories of survival from this storm.
We sure are, Maureen. You have to wonder how anyone could have survived these 260-plus mile-per-hour winds. Most of the folks we talked to tonight said they had only seconds to take cover, and that they're counting their blessings tonight that they're even alive.
In here like this, because this had stuff in it and up on the top, and I was down and I held on to the door, and it was just pulling.
Seconds later, when Chris Streeper came out of the closet, she looked around to find that half of her house was gone.
The sheets were off the bed, all the stuff was off the bed, and I mean, everything, all the pictures came off the wall, and I just was like, wow. And then I turned around and looked at the other houses, and I said, you know, I was fortunate.
Much more so than neighbor Todd Allen and his family.
Where I saw cars just flying up and down everywhere, and I just saw it coming straight for us.
At that point, Todd and his family were upstairs. They didn't have time to get downstairs to the basement. They were trapped in a hallway.
I jumped in front of them and took all the damage, and we got stuck right in. You can see that crack right there. We were underneath all that rubble.
Luckily, they survived. Todd has a couple of broken bones and 50 stitches in his chest. His house is leveled.
It took 3.5 months for this house to get built. It took 20 seconds for it to get torn down.
The destruction left behind is devastating, but these residents know it still could have been worse. These folks out here have just lost everything. Many of them, you know, of course have insurance, but still cannot replace a lot of the memories that are just gone tonight. They seem to have an amazing amount of resolve, though. We're live in La Plata, Maryland. I'm Susan Roberts, ABC 7.
Thank you so much, Susan. And now let's check.
Is recovering at the Washington Hospital Center.
A tornado damaged 24 homes in Calvert County, Maryland. It killed one woman there. She lived in the small town of Bowens. That's near Prince Frederick. Margaret Albee and her husband George were inside their house when the tornado hit. The house was demolished. By the time emergency crews arrived, Mrs. Albee was dead. She was 78 years old.
This was one of the biggest shocks in my life, to see that she was taken and all this. But it's a pity. I know now she's in good hands with God.
Crews found George Albee in the rubble of the building. He was flown to Washington Hospital Center. He is listed there in good condition tonight.
Still had a tough commute home tonight after a second.
Of it in through Calvert County, went through La Plata and Normandy Farms, and then Hawkins Gate, and then traveled to the south side of 231 from Hughesville to Benedict. Now, it may have actually spawned another vortex as it went through Hughesville and then crossed the Patuxent River and went on into Calvert County for 6 miles. Now, here is the track, and it's unusually long, even by Midwestern standards. Average track's about 1.25 miles. So it stayed on the ground through La Plata, Hughesville, across near the bridge over for Benedict, and across into Calvert County toward Bowens, and then actually went across into Dorchester County. We do have some reports of damage in Dorchester County as well. 30 miles on the ground and 400 yards wide. And because it's only 400 yards wide, that's why one house can survive, one house won't survive. All right, on the scale, the Fujita scale, how we measure it, F5, it looks like now, the winds in excess of 261 miles per hour, and F4 is actually 207 to 260 miles per hour. So it does appear it is at least an F4 and more than likely an F5. And we'll talk more about the storm's path and damage in just a couple minutes. Right now, the news continues with Gordon Grevier.
Copper, thanks a lot. Well, amid the rubble of yesterday's deadly tornado, we found some pretty incredible stories of survival.
Many families caught in the funnel of the twister lived to tell about their experience. 9 News reporter Verge Jacques is here with those stories. Verge?
Gordon, those stories seem unbelievable, but they're real, much too real. They involve ordinary people who found themselves in the midst of the tornado's devastation. Somehow, they made it through the disaster. They are La Plata survivors. This is the car John Bland and his son were riding in when the tornado struck. They suddenly found themselves airborne, with boards crashing through the car windows. Neither man was seriously injured. Both are survivors.
Pure luck. The man upstairs looks out for you. That's all it is. And I believe it.
Unbelievable that I've got them both with me. I saw it on television, actually, this morning. So I'm just very, very grateful and know that we're very blessed.
Airbag blew in my face, bruised my eye, and the window had shattered, so I just laid on the floor and braced myself.
Antoine Chisley was stopped at the intersection of Route 301 and Route 6 in La Plata when he saw the tornado right in front of him. It sent his 1-ton truck twisting through the air.
Almost like a blind man, moving. And I couldn't see where I was at, so that's what was scary about it.
Chisley didn't break any bones, even though he'd landed more than 60 feet from where his flight began. He has a bruised eye and a gash in his forehead, but Chisley is a survivor.
I want to see if I can get to my rabbit.
Wayne Barnes, his wife, and their 6 children are survivors. They went back to their demolished home to rescue another survivor, the family rabbit. Wayne Barnes' son, 13-year-old Dominique, was headed out to play basketball when he saw the tornado nearby. He alerted the family, so they headed to the safety of their basement. Barnes' wife, Deborah McLean, works for Catholic Charities as a grief counselor. She helps people in need. Now McLean and her family will be getting the help they need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Verge.
The Archbishop of Washington, he celebrated Mass early today in La Plata. Cardinal McCarrick got a first-hand look at the tornado damage. Catholic school was among the buildings leveled in La Plata. McCarrick said, considering the devastation, it is a miracle the casualties are relatively light.